presidents and prime ministers, dictators and despots. Once power is achieved, many will go to any length to keep it.
World leaders will do anything to maintain the power that they have.
Terrorists and tyrants utilize body doubles to fool enemies and allies alike. Assassinations and wars provide cover for some of the most mind-blowing deceptions in the history of world leaders. Some fake their deaths. Others may have been gone for years, with the public never catching on.
People in high places can keep enormous secrets. Sometimes, decades after the fact, we find out that things were not as they seem.
Join us tonight as we unseal the untold stories of world leaders and their imposters. What if the history you were taught in school was all a lie? Is our government controlled by a secret society? Welcome to the world of conspiracy, where cover-ups, secrets, and hidden agendas all trace back to a single source. We're about to unseal the secret files the government doesn't want you to know about. This is Unsealed, Conspiracy Files. May 2nd, 2011. In this small town just 100 miles east of the Afghan border lies a discreet and heavily armed compound. Inside is the most wanted man in the world, Osama bin Laden.
On May 2nd, 2011, the United States Navy SEALs launched Operation Neptune Spear. Its objective was to kill Osama bin Laden.
After an estimated 15 minutes inside the compound, Osama bin Laden lies on the floor with 2 bullets in his chest and 1 in his head. The Western world's public enemy number 1 is dead. But was bin Laden actually killed long before Operation Neptune Spear ever existed?
It wouldn't be the first time that we've been fooled. It could have been an imposter.
History is littered with public figures who aren't who we thought they were. One of the most famous is rumored to be the Virgin Queen, Elizabeth I.
There is great secrecy around people in royal families, and there is great effort put into getting them some privacies.
Some historians think that the real Queen Elizabeth I died as a child and was replaced with a boy somewhere around 1550.
When Elizabeth I was at a young age, she mysteriously dies. Her caretakers are incredibly scared. So what they do is they find someone who looks almost identical to Elizabeth I and make King Henry VIII believe that this little boy is his daughter.
As evidence of the plot, historians point out that as an adult, Elizabeth vowed never to marry or have children when she was still in her early 20s.
It is unusual that a Queen of England wouldn't make sure she had children to maintain her family's place of power.
In the U.S., the practice of presidential imposters allegedly dates back to the very beginning of the Republic.
George Washington was replaced by Adam Weishaupt, who was the leader of the Illuminati.
In this remarkable theory, Weishaupt killed and replaced President George Washington during his first term as president.
There's an actual difference in the representation of a younger George Washington and the George Washington who was established as President of the United States.
When comparing the images of George Washington with those of Adam Weishaupt, the similarities are noticeable. Even the image of Washington on the dollar bill shows a striking resemblance to Adam Weishaupt. Could our government have been deceiving us since the very dawn of our freedom?
The portraits look different.
In 2008, a man named Felix Dadaev came forward and admitted he was one of 4 body doubles used to impersonate one of the world's most hated despots, Joseph Stalin.
Stalin had body doubles all over the place. He believed that his life was in danger from German agents at the outset of World War II.
Used as a decoy for those who might want to assassinate Stalin, Dadaev also presided over ceremonial functions and even flew to the Yalta Conference as the Russian leader.
There's a huge danger impersonating a world leader. Think about the target that that person has on their back.
But when it comes to World War II, one man takes body doubles and imposters to a chilling new level. Coming up, this photo proved to the world that Hitler died in his bunker in the closing days of World War II. But some say this isn't Hitler at all.
Unsealed. Conspiracy Files.
April 30th, 1945. Berlin. Deep inside the Fuhrer bunker. Adolf Hitler and his wife, Eva Braun, listened to bombs destroying the city above their heads. A decision has to be made.
His reign was over. He didn't have any options left.
What happens next changes the course of human history. Hitler and Braun allegedly commit suicide together. But is it really Adolf Hitler? Unsealed case file: the suicide of Adolf Hitler. During his years in power, there are 42 separate occasions where assassins, suicide bombers, and murderers attempt to end Hitler's life.
He needed all the protection he could get and used body doubles to try to survive.
Before and during the war, Hitler was reported to have used several different enlisted men as body doubles. One, Julius Schreck, bears a stunning resemblance to the Fuhrer.
Schreck was one of Hitler's original bodyguards. In fact, Adolf Hitler trusted Schreck so completely that he asked Schreck to become the leader of the SS. Schreck considered it, but ultimately turned it down.
Schreck turns down the offer to lead the SS, but stays close to Hitler, even growing the notorious toothbrush mustache to act as a body double. Another doppelganger of Adolf Hitler is Gustav Wehler, who pays the ultimate price for protecting the Fuhrer.
Gustav Wehler had been impersonating Hitler from time to time as a way to fool people and make Hitler safer, and the Soviets were completely taken in by this ruse. Wehler had probably been shot by the Nazis as a distraction.
When the Soviets discover Wehler's corpse, they're convinced at first that it was the Fuhrer, at least for a while.
That actually worked. The Soviets took a picture of Wehler's body, or what is believed to be Wehler, and it was actually advertised that they had killed Adolf Hitler himself and touted this photograph as proof.
According to some historians, Hitler may have had as many as 6 lookalikes put to death and then photographed in the closing days of World War II in order to convince his enemies of his death.
It was obviously a great honor to be a body double for these that were very loyal to the man himself, but they really had to face the reality that they could very much end up dead because of that target on their back.
Later, the story surfaces that Hitler killed himself with his personal handgun, but there are no photos of the body, virtually no hard evidence he was actually dead. It's one of the most infamous suicides in history, and no one can prove it ever happened.
It was his dental record that the Soviets had confirmed to them they'd found Hitler's body. But then the Soviets released a photo claiming it was Hitler, but it really wasn't Hitler. So that fueled a whole conspiracy. Did the Soviets make a mistake?
August 1945. President Truman asks Joseph Stalin if Hitler was dead. Stalin's alleged reply, no. Less than a year later, at the Nuremberg trials, Chief of the U.S. Trial Counsel, Thomas J. Dodd, states, no one can say he is dead. In 1958, the U.S. declassifies 6 X-rays of Hitler's skull. Not a single one shows evidence of a gunshot wound. And to further the mystery, does the existence of this FBI file prove that the U.S. government knew Hitler was alive?
The FBI file for Adolf Hitler stretches hundreds of pages, and when you look at the photographs that were disseminated by the intelligence community, including the FBI, about what Hitler could look like after the war, that fact in itself proved that they themselves didn't really believe 100% that Adolf Hitler was dead.
After Hitler died, many people reported they had seen him. They sent letters to J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI. A vast file was built of this, these reports of sightings.
The letters flooded into the FBI with sightings of the Fuhrer. The New Yorker reports seeing Hitler on the public transit system there. Another man reports that Hitler had work done by a St. Louis dentist. Every letter was received, acknowledged, saved, and hidden from view until now.
The size of the FBI file suggests that the FBI thought that Hitler might be alive.
But if he truly survived after the war, where did he go? Most believe that answer is Argentina.
After the fall of the Nazi regime, many Nazi officers actually escaped and were never captured. They went to different countries, primarily to South America and Argentina.
Joseph Mengele, Adolf Eichmann, and Franz Stangl were all top Nazi officials proven to have escaped to Argentina. But was it possible Hitler was among them? Startling new research indicates the possibility.
U-530 was a Nazi German submarine that shows up in Argentina 2 months after the end of the war, with no record of where they had been or why they were there. Well, what's this all about? Did some German leaders get to Argentina in this submarine? Did Hitler himself somehow get spirited away and end up in Buenos Aires after the war? It's a fascinating story.
A 1945 radiogram from the FBI seems to confirm this suspicion. It reads, "Report Hitler in Argentina." Could this be proof that Hitler faked his suicide by murdering his doppelganger, escaped Nazi Germany, and lived out his days hiding in South America? In 2009, the mystery deepens when scientists announce that Soviet-held skull fragments, long believed to have belonged to Adolf Hitler himself, are determined to have actually come from a female skull. Propaganda, murder, deception. Hitler mastered them all. These tactics represent the past, present, and future of global leadership. Will mankind ever end its limitless lust for power? Up next, we reveal the shocking schemes of the world's political and corporate elite have devised to stay in control forever.
Unsealed. Conspiracy Files.
Doppelgangers, imposters, fake suicides, and cold-blooded murder. From medieval times to present day, world leaders have used criminal tactics to tighten their grip on the masses. And with modern technology, these devious methods are becoming even more difficult to uncover.
At the end of the Korean War, the Soviets and the Chinese held back American POWs. Why did they do this? They wanted to use the identities to attach to their own saboteurs and agent provocateurs. Remember the movie Manchurian Candidate? It wasn't fiction.
Taking over the crown or becoming the first president of the United States. Imposters and tyrants went to great lengths to steal power in the past. Perhaps there are no bounds as to how far power-hungry tycoons will go today.
By definition, a person who reaches high office is an incredibly driven human being. They want the power, not only because they feel entitled to it, but they often believe they have great gifts to share, that the survival or well-being of the population depends on their leadership.
Sure, there were world-class leaders like Hitler and Mussolini and Stalin who rose from the ranks, not the aristocracy. Today the world is different. With smartphones and the internet, just about anyone can rise from obscurity simply on the basis of technology. The power is in the palm of your hand.
Chief executive officers, board members, and company presidents. These are the kings and queens of modern day. With their unlimited resources, the rich and the powerful can exploit any means necessary to make their names, and even their lives, everlasting.
We've cloned sheep. We've cloned human organs. We've developed anti-aging formulas. Right now, the only thing between the human race and immortality is the cost of the science itself. You can be immortal, if only you're rich enough to afford it.
Could the tools of power be shifting towards a future of mass misinformation, cloning tactics, and manufactured bloodlines?
What if somebody were to create a carbon copy of themselves just simply to have some spare parts? If your heart goes or your lung fails, well, now you've got an exact copy that should be able to get implanted right into your body and you're good to go.
Billionaires and dictators who replace themselves not with an heir apparent, but with version 2.0. Could immortal leaders be the future of global tyranny?
Sure, Hitler lost, but it doesn't mean someone like him won't rise again at some point. And just imagine what a crazed person could do with the kind of cloning technology that exists.
It's very important that people understand that there's no law that prohibits us from doing this kind of work in the USA. And I do not know whether the human cloning is controlled by the FDA or not. But there are an awful lot of gray areas in this country.
Unsealed case file. The cloning laws. Only 8 states in America have full bans on human cloning. Iowa State Law 707C prohibits human cloning for any purpose. Prohibits transfer or receipt of a cloned human embryo for any purpose. Human cloning is punishable as a felony offense.
It's just a matter of time before the technical problems are solved, and cloning a human is just as simple as getting an allergy shot.
The situations develop as such that the governments allow us to do what we do. All we need is a laboratory the size of a kitchen, and we can create all the clones we want.
Clone imposters on the world's biggest stage. The office of the President of the United States of America. Could our nation's greatest threat be the presidential assassination we never find out about?
Extremists and terrorists are becoming vastly more sophisticated, breaking into secure databases with handheld devices. We are in a whole new world of technology. Just imagine if terrorists got their hands on the DNA of very important people, and they cloned them, and they grew them, and they sent them back into the United States or back into other countries, not knowing who was real and who was a clone. We'd be fighting ourselves.
Could the United States be in the midst of a real-life clone war?
It's one thing to say that human cloning might be part of some dystopian future. The point is, cloning is going on now. People are banking their DNA, freezing their own DNA to be cloned if they become sick with some kind of incurable disease. This is happening now. It's not something in the next 200 or 300 years.
Human clones as body doubles, billionaires with immortal bloodlines. Tyrants will go to every length imaginable to utilize the power of science. Coming up, we expose the human clones already in play. Could today's leaders be the masters of tomorrow?
Unsealed. Conspiracy Files.
The time to act is now. There are 3 simple steps you can take to unseal the truth.
Follow on Twitter.
Follow the Unsealed Twitter feed to receive breaking news of the latest conspiracies as they develop.
Tell your story.
What did you see that you shouldn't have?
The government's known about it all along. Why has nobody told us?
Upload stories and pictures to our interactive map.
Join the movement.
Get the Unsealed bracelet and the unique code hidden underneath to access exclusive content. Stop living in the dark.
It is definitely coming this way.
Get involved in the fight to unseal the truth. Now. Body doubles and doppelgangers confounded historians as to the truth behind the lives and deaths of some of the most infamous leaders in the history of the world. Could scholars now be fooled by modern-day clones posing as tomorrow's dictators?
North Korean leader Kim Jong-il hadn't been seen for months before he's dead. Then suddenly his son, his successor, Kim Jong-un, appears. But what if Kim Jong-un is really a clone of Kim Jong-il? Can you imagine?
40 years after man cloned an animal gene, human cloning is common practice. Information is everywhere, and misinformation has never been easier to spread. When one leader disappears and another takes over, how can we ever know who's real and who's an imposter?
Unsealed. Conspiracy Files.